Search engine optimization is all the activities that you could conceivably do, anything that you could do to influence Google to show your website earlier or at all. And the reason we would want to do search engine optimization is because it gets us new customers to show up. Hi and welcome. You're listening to the NetBlaze podcast, marketing ideas for small businesses. Look, if you're concerned about getting new customers, keeping the customers that you have, and increasing the revenue, the lifetime value of those customers, then you've come to the right place because we're here to help. In today's episode, we're going to tackle probably one of the most confusing topics that I think small business owners deal with regard to marketing, digital marketing specifically. And that's search engine optimization, or SEO. I don't think that there's anything, people tend to understand, hey, I need to get reviews, I need to post on Facebook, I need to interact with my customers, maybe I need to have an email list so that I can market to them or at least communicate to them. But when it comes to search engine optimization, I think people get just their eyes gloss over and they, it makes their hair hurt. They think it's magic or they don't understand anything about it. So, in reality, it's pretty easy if we sort of take a look at a little bit of history and just spend a couple of minutes kind of understanding the whole concept here. So what I want to try and tackle in, a pretty short amount of time is talking about search engine optimization, talking about, why you might need it, what the heck is it, how do I do it? So, let's talk about what it is first. So what it is any tactic or strategy or plan or any activity, right, that can influence where you show up when someone types in something into Google. Example, perhaps someone, types in pizza place near me, because they're hungry or they moved to a new town or they're looking to start, find a new pizza restaurant. And so Google, probably depending on where that person is, might have, 5 restaurants they could show. Maybe they have 100 if you're in Manhattan or something. And so somehow, right, there's magic that goes on behind the scenes where Google says, okay, I'm going to show these 3 restaurants, or I'm going to show these 6, or I'm going to show these 3 and a map so that people can see where they are. And this process happens all the time whenever anybody types in something into Google. If you type in something like, car for sale, or, red widget because you want to start to research something, or you type in a model. It doesn't matter what you type in. Anytime you type something into Google, you're looking for information. And Google's job is to go out and look at the perhaps thousands, hundreds of thousands of websites that might answer your question, okay, or give you the information that you're looking for, and present them in some order that is sort of like, well, here's my best guess at what you're looking for, here's my second best guess, here's my third best guess, here's my fourth best guess. So anything that a website owner or business can do to make their website show up number 1, number 2, number 3, whatever it is, higher, right? Usually the search engine optimization is only concerned with showing up sort of higher, earlier in the search results. Anything someone can do to influence that would be search engine optimization. So that's what it is. Why you would do it? Hopefully that's pretty straightforward. If you're a pizza place, you want to show up when someone types in pizza place near me. And not only do you want to show up, you'd love to show up as the first entry, right? Because, who's going to get more customers over the long haul or even the shorter medium term? The person who doesn't show up at all when someone types that into Google, or the person who shows up number 1? Well, I think it's easy to understand that it would be the person that shows up number 1. So that's why it's valuable. That's why people do it. Your position in the search engine rankings, where you show up when someone types in something that your business or service is designed to answer, right, has a direct impact on traffic and getting new customers, even potentially keeping existing ones. So it's really, really important, right? So search engine optimization is all the activities that you could conceivably do, anything that you could do to influence Google to show your website earlier or at all. And the reason we would want to do search engine optimization is because it gets us new customers to show up. Okay, so we know what it is. We know why we might want to do it. So let's tackle the harder part. How would you even, how does that work? What are these mysterious activities or things that could influence, how Google decides to show your website? Well, it's worth taking a very quick walk down memory lane to kind of figure out how we've sort of gotten here. When the internet first arrived, it was quickly apparent that some sort of directory was needed, some ability to look through all of these, to websites and say, well, I'm not going to go through a billion sites to find something about red widgets. I want to go somewhere that will tell me, hey, if you're looking for red widgets or you're looking for a pizza place in New York City, here's where you should go. And so Yahoo was born, okay? And Yahoo was like the Yellow Pages. In fact, it was exactly like the Yellow Pages. You had to submit to Yahoo, hey, I have a new website, and it is a restaurant. It is a restaurant in New York City. It is in a pizza place in New York City. And you could, it was kind of like the Yellow Pages in that you could perhaps pay to show up a little bit higher, pay Yahoo. Or if you were one of the first pizza places to ever get a website, you could show up higher, that sort of thing. Or if you had like AAA in front of your name, that those kind of shenanigans, right, went on. And so it was very, very much like the Yellow Pages. But there were a lot of weaknesses with a directory type. It's not even a search engine. It's just a directory of websites. The first is that if you don't tell the directory about your business, it doesn't ever show up. The directory didn't go out and proactively look for websites to include in its directory. The next is that humans needed to be involved to determine, yes, in fact, this is a pizza place. Yes, it's in New York City. Yes, they serve Italian food and pizza specifically. And so, that was, humans needed to get involved in that. The computers didn't do it. You had to fill out forms. You had to, classify your website. They had to agree. Not a very efficient process. And then the other is once the internet took off, right? So now we're talking, 25 years ago or so. Once the internet took off and you have all these websites, maybe you've got in Manhattan, 300 pizza places. Well, how do you, what's the order that you show them? Should Yahoo decide that? Should people be able to pay to do that? So it's not that. So at the end of the day, right, it's not the best experience for the end user, because the best experience for the end user is when somebody wants to go to a pizza place near them, that they would find one of the better ones. Well, if you've just got 300 random ones and maybe they show up in some sort of order that's determined by how much they paid or whatever, it's not really good for anyone. Well, maybe the person who paid the most, right? So when all this is going on, Google came along to essentially eliminate all of these weaknesses. And they built a true search engine. It wasn't a directory where you go in and you sort of say, okay, I'm looking for restaurants. I'm looking for restaurants in New York City. I'm looking for Italian restaurants in New York City, that sort of thing. It was, hey, I'm just going to type anything in and it'll give me the best results on the web no matter what. And so that's a tall order. And Google had to solve 3 problems to build the perfect search engine. First of all, they had to figure out a way to always know when new sites came online, right? So that they could just automatically say, new site, I know about it, and I will consider it when people type in things that I'm going to then show websites for. The second problem they had to solve is to understand what the website was really all about. They had to programmatically have a computer, artificial intelligence be able to read the website and say, oh, this is a pizza place in New York City. So nobody has to tell me. I know exactly what's going on here. And then the final thing they had to do is, of the sites that are about the same thing, right? So somebody types in pizza place near me, and all of a sudden there are 300 sites that could satisfy that query. What order do you show them? What's the best one, right? What's the best ones to show at the top? And search engine optimization used to be about all the tactics to help Google accomplish all three of those things. However, luckily, Google does the first two perfectly. Used to be we had to actually worry about, well, does Google know about my site? We used to call it indexed, right? So we had to make sure they knew about it. So there were ways to do that. Then we had to make sure that they really understood what our website was about. So we had to spend a lot of time, making sure that we had certain things filled in correctly and all that sort of stuff. We don't have to worry about any of that anymore. Google is over decades, they've gotten so good with artificial intelligence. They know the second a website comes online, you can't hide it from them, and they know exactly what it's about, because they're really, really good at that. So all we're left with is those things, the things that we want to influence through search engine optimization, is that third thing. Of the websites that are about the same thing, that can answer this question that someone has, how do we determine how does Google determine which ones to show, what order to show them? So that's what we're left with. But in order to do that, you sort of have to know how Google does it today, okay? So the way they do it is that, and this was really built 30 years ago when they first started Google, and it hasn't changed much, okay? They decided that the philosophy of how they would determine what the order of websites that show up is that it would be a popularity contest, essentially. In order to have a popularity contest, you have to have votes. So they are going to count votes. And those with the most votes get shown first. Those with the second number of votes get shown second, and so on and so on. So what's a vote? Well, there's a big hint in what Google's first name was. When Google was first developed, it wasn't called Google. It was called Backrub. Okay? And the reason it was called Backrub is because those votes, those popularity contest votes, just like you're, voting for the prom king and queen, you fill something out. Those votes were backlinks, which is where they got the name Backrub. So what's a backlink? A backlink is simply when another website, okay, links to your website. That's it. And so all of Google is built on the philosophy that the more other websites link to this website, the more popular it is, the better it is, the higher quality it is, the more important it is to show first. That's it. That is the whole concept of search engine optimization. And while it's been refined dramatically over 3 decades, for sure. And there's a lot of, the devil is in the details on, just is every backlink created equal, and how do you get those backlinks? And there's a lot to dive into there. But at a high level, simplistically, philosophically, it is a popularity contest. The votes are how many other websites link to your website. So search engine optimization are tactics to get votes, get signals, get backlinks from other sites. That's it. Now, backlinks have grown over the decades. It's grown to be, this website points to this one. And you can sort of understand how that would be, right? So you might have a review site that says, boy, for the best pizza, you should go here. And so that's why they built it on this philosophy. Because the more websites out there that say that and point to this pizza place, the higher that one should show up. But it's grown from there, right? So it's backlinks. It's how many reviews do they have, because those are sort of backlinks. Inclusion in certain directories, like are they in the Apple Maps database? Are they in the Google Maps database? Are they in the Waze database? Are they and there's a bunch of other directories out there. Are they posting for social media? Are there a lot of social media engagements for this business? On and on and on. They also added a new wrinkle, and that was quality. For example, So the quality of the website itself. So for example, even if you have the most amount of votes, the most amount of backlinks, if your website doesn't look good on mobile devices, if it doesn't look good on a phone, it will not show up high in the search engine rankings, because Google has decided that even if you're popular, even if you have a lot of votes, the experience for the users, now that more than 50% of web traffic is mobile, is not good. So we're not going to show you. Okay. So that's really what it all boils down to. So for search engine optimization, the efforts that go into search engine optimization, what you might hire a firm to do or have software to do, right, is number one, get your quality metrics nailed. So just make sure that your website looks good for mobile, make sure it loads properly, make sure it loads quickly. There are like a handful, 4, 5, 6 kind of things that are important from a quality perspective, and we'll spend another episode on that. But your website has to be good quality and present a good user experience. Okay, and then from there, it's really just about collecting as many votes as you can, right? Because the more votes you get, the more popular you are, the higher you'll show up in the search engine rankings. The good news is nowadays, many of the signals that you need to collect, many of the votes that you need to collect are sort of part of your day-to-day marketing. You want to get more reviews. Okay, well, the more reviews you get, the more signals you get, the more votes you get, the more backlinks you get. You want to be active on social media. Well, the more social media posting you do and the more engagement those social media posts get, then those are all more signals to determine your popularity. Okay, so hopefully, with that little sort of history lesson and kind of high level, maybe now search engine optimization isn't the most mysterious thing in the world. At the end of the day, it's like, voting for prom king or queen, and Google is out there collecting all these votes. And whenever someone does type something into Google, like pizza place near me, they tally the votes and they use that to determine who's going to show up first, second, third, and so on from there. Okay? So hopefully you got something out of that. And please keep coming back, because we're going to dive into a lot more of these topics in future episodes. And certainly if you want help with your digital marketing, please head on over to netblaze.com. We've got great software that can help you out with all of these things, and we even have a free trial.